Craig Hamilton Parker says Charles dies early 2026, specifically February. The same psychic who called the Queen's death, Brexit, and Trump just said when he tuned into Charles's future, he saw February as a very dark date. His exact words, "We may lose King Charles in February 2026. I'm walking you through his complete warning, what he sees for Charles, what happens to Camilla, and why he believes William takes the throne this year. What exactly did this psychic see that convinced him Charles's time is running out? And what does he say William will do to Camilla the moment he becomes king? Something Charles has refused to do. If you've wondered whether karma would ever catch up with the woman who destroyed Diana's marriage, this is what you need to hear. One psychic, one specific month. We're living in it. Let's start with why anyone should listen to him. Number 1, his track record. Why anyone should listen. His name is Craig Hamilton Parker. The British press calls him the new Nostradamus. That sounds like tabloid exaggeration, the kind of headline designed to sell newspapers. But then you look at what he's actually called correctly, and suddenly the comparison doesn't seem so ridiculous. In 2016, Craig Hamilton Parker said 2 things every expert claimed were impossible. First, that Britain would vote to leave the European Union. Brexit. Nobody saw it coming. The polls were wrong. The betting markets were wrong. The experts were wrong. Every mainstream forecast said Britain would stay. Craig Hamilton Parker was right. Second, and this is the one that made headlines around the world, he said Donald Trump would win the 2016 presidential election. While every political analyst was declaring Hillary Clinton the inevitable winner, while pollsters gave her a 90% chance of victory, Craig Hamilton Parker said Trump would take the White House. He was right about both. Wikipedia documents these calls. The press has covered them extensively. These weren't claims he made after the fact, the convenient kind that only emerges once the outcome is known. These were published statements on video before the events happened. Anyone could have watched them. Most people dismissed them. They shouldn't have. But the one that matters most right now is what he said about Queen Elizabeth. Number 2, the Queen Elizabeth warning that came true. In late 2021, Craig Hamilton Parker released his outlook for 2022. He said the Queen was unwell. He said she had heart problems, something the palace had never confirmed publicly, something most royal watchers didn't even suspect. Then he made the call that would prove everything. His exact words, "I think she will make it past her Platinum Jubilee, which comes up this year, but I think after that, we'll see a sudden and quick deterioration in the Queen's health." Think about what he was saying. The Platinum Jubilee was in June 2022. Craig Hamilton Parker said the Queen would make it past that celebration. She would be there for the parties, the parades, the festivities, but then decline rapidly. Most people expected the Queen to live several more years. She was active. She was sharp. She had decades of public service ahead of her, as far as anyone knew. Queen Elizabeth II died on September 8, 2022, 3 months after the Platinum Jubilee, exactly as Craig Hamilton Parker foretold. But he also said something else in that same video, something that matters right now. He said, "Charles will become King Charles, but his reign, I feel, will be short." Short. That was the word he used in 2021. Not troubled, not difficult, short. Now he's given us the specific time frame, and we're living in it. Number 3, the February 2026. Warning, a very dark date. Craig Hamilton Parker released his 2026 Royal Family Outlook on his YouTube channel, Coffee with Craig. The video has been transcribed and reported by multiple outlets, including Metro, EADaily, and badpsychics.com. His exact words about King Charles. "I think he'll get through 2025, but I feel early into 2026 we will see the death of King Charles. And my thoughts are, this may be sometime in February, because I saw that when I was tuning into this, I saw that as a very dark date. February, this month, right now." He continued, "So my feeling is we may lose King Charles in February 2026. This isn't a warning about some distant future. This is about the weeks we're living through right now." Then he said something haunting about the King's Christmas speech. "I feel will be particularly poignant, and it will almost be a man's last words to the nation. because I feel that his illness by that time has become much more pronounced even though he shows a good face. A man's last words to the nation. That's what Craig Hamilton Parker believes we witnessed in December. If he's right, we already heard it. We just didn't know what we were hearing. Now here's where it gets unsettling, because what he sees about Charles's illness contradicts everything the palace has told us. Number 4. What he sees about Charles's illness. Craig Hamilton Parker addressed what he believes is really happening with Charles's health, and it's nothing like the official story. Sadly, I have to say that I do feel that Charles is a lot more ill than is being reported. He's a very brave man. He does a very good job, I feel. He's worked hard to keep in the public eye, but it's becoming much more difficult for him. The palace announced Charles's cancer diagnosis in February 2024. They've said he's undergoing treatment. They've said he's responding well. They've projected optimism at every turn. Craig Hamilton Parker sees something different. He's doing less public engagements, and I feel so much more of the energy is now beginning to shift to Prince William. And sadly, my thought is, and my feelings are, that he doesn't have much more time with us at all. He specifically mentioned Charles's visit to the Vatican as a turning point, a moment that changed something fundamental in the king. That Vatican visit has triggered in Charles many spiritual thoughts about his way forward. Spiritual thoughts about his way forward. You see what that means? Craig Hamilton Parker believes Charles knows his time is limited. He believes Charles is preparing for the end, making peace with God, saying his private goodbyes, a dying king, making his peace. While the palace tells us everything is fine, the psychic who called the Queen's death believes Charles has days or weeks left, but we still haven't revealed what he says William will do the moment he takes the throne. The action Charles has refused to take for years, and we haven't explained what happens to Camilla's title the instant Charles dies. Number 5. What he says William will do immediately. This is what Craig Hamilton Parker sees happening after Charles passes. I see William being crowned. I feel Charles passes in like February time, but William will be crowned, and we will see in William, I feel, a very compassionate king on many levels, but also a very robust and strong king as well, who won't take any nonsense. A robust and strong king who won't take any nonsense. That phrase is important, because Craig Hamilton Parker says William will immediately do something Charles has avoided for years, something millions of people have been waiting for. I see him also removing the titles of Harry and Meghan, and this will come quickly into his reign. So this could be, if I'm correct in what I'm seeing, in 2026, Harry and Meghan will have their titles removed. William, not Charles. William will be the one to strip Harry and Meghan of their titles. Craig Hamilton Parker explains why Charles hasn't done it himself. The can's been kicked down the road partly because the king does not want to deal with this and feels his time is short, and he'd rather leave his brother alone. Charles doesn't want to deal with it. He knows his time is limited, so he's leaving the difficult decisions for William. And according to Craig Hamilton Parker, William won't hesitate. He'll act decisively and quickly. To do this, there will have to be parliamentary changes. But I see William pressing for parliamentary changes, and those changes will happen later in 2026. No more delays, no more excuses. William takes the throne and immediately cleans house, and Harry and Meghan aren't the only ones who should be worried. Number 6. What happens to Prince Andrew? Craig Hamilton Parker didn't stop at Harry and Meghan. He sees William dealing with Prince Andrew as well, and dealing with him harshly. William will certainly sort out Prince Andrew in a much more robust way than we have seen up to now. Charles has protected his brother for years. He's avoided confrontation. He's let Andrew keep his royal lodge, his titles, his position within the family, despite the scandals that have surrounded him, despite the friendship with Jeffrey Epstein, despite the settlement with Virginia Giuffre, despite everything. William won't do that. According to Craig Hamilton Parker, the moment William takes the throne, the protection ends. Andrew faces a king who won't take any nonsense, a king who has watched his father shield his disgraced brother while the monarchy's reputation suffered. The message is clear. William cleans house. Harry, Meghan, Andrew. All of them face consequences that Charles was unwilling to deliver. Diana's son. Making the decisions his father refused to make. William strips titles. William confronts Andrew. But what about Camilla? What happens to the woman who destroyed his mother's marriage? Number 7. What happens to Camilla's title? Here's what many people don't realize. The moment Charles dies, Camilla's title changes automatically. It happens the instant William becomes king. She is currently Queen Camilla, technically Queen Consort, the wife of the reigning king. When Charles passes, she will become Queen Dowager, the widow of the former king. Her power evaporates. Her relevance disappears. She goes from being the queen to being the former queen, a historical footnote in someone else's reign. The center of attention becomes a background figure overnight. Catherine becomes Queen Consort. The Wales children move up in succession. The entire focus of the monarchy shifts to William's family. Everything Camilla worked for becomes secondary to everything Kate represents. Royal experts note that Camilla could retain quarters at Clarence House, or she might have to move to Ray Mill House, her private country home in Wiltshire. The decision isn't hers, it's William's. She spent 30 years as the other woman. She waited until Diana was dead to get her crown, and according to this warning, she may only wear it for about 3 years before Diana's son takes it away. 30 years of waiting, 3 years of wearing the crown, then irrelevance. But Camilla's title isn't the only thing changing. Her entire future depends on what happens next. Number 8. What Craig Hamilton Parker sees for Camilla's future. Craig Hamilton Parker has made statements about Camilla's health as well. In his 2025 outlook, he said, "It is looking good for Charles this year, but Camilla will experience more health troubles. More health troubles. Camilla has already dealt with a chest infection and pneumonia in recent years. Craig Hamilton Parker sees more ahead. Her body is showing the strain of royal duties, but the real warning isn't about her health. It's about her position, her relevance, her power, her entire reason for being in the public eye. When William becomes king, Camilla's role fundamentally changes. She's no longer the queen supporting her king. She's the former queen, dependent on her stepson's goodwill, a stepson who watched her replace his mother, a stepson who grew up in the shadow of his parents' broken marriage. Debbie Frank, Diana's personal astrologer for years, made her own calls for 2026 that align with this. She said Camilla will take a step back from duties in the new year and will step back from duties that the younger royals could perform. Step back. That's the polite way of saying, move aside. Your time is over. The crown you waited 30 years to wear now belongs to someone else's wife. Number 9. The psychics who knew Diana. Craig Hamilton Parker made a documentary in 2003 called The Spirit of Diana. He and his wife Jane, also a psychic, claimed to make contact with Diana from beyond the grave. But he's not the only psychic with a Diana connection who has spoken about the royal family. Sally Morgan was Diana's personal psychic for 4.5 years. She traveled with Diana, she advised Diana. She claims she foresaw Diana's death a year before it happened, though she says she initially thought the vision was about the queen, not the princess. Rita Rogers was Diana's spiritual advisor. Diana visited her home in Derbyshire with Dodi Fayed just 2 weeks before the Paris crash. Rita claims she warned Dodi to avoid France and not to change his limo driver for fear of an accident in a tunnel. 2 weeks later, Diana died in a tunnel in Paris. Penny Thornton was Diana's astrologer from 1986 to 1992. In her 1995 book, With Love from Diana, she described dreams about Diana being pursued in a black car by men on motorbikes. 2 years before the crash that killed her, these psychics saw Diana's death coming. Now, decades later, psychics are seeing a different ending, not tragedy for Diana's memory, but karma for those who wronged her. Number 10. Other psychics. Seeing the same thing, Craig Hamilton Parker isn't alone in warning about trouble ahead for the monarchy. Debbie Frank, Diana's former astrologer, gave her outlook for 2026 to Hello magazine. She said the second half of the year is Saturn on King Charles's midheaven, which flags up a decisive time in his reign. A decisive time in his reign, she added. September brings to the surface a deeper public awareness of his private struggles. Private struggles, the same theme Craig Hamilton Parker sees, the same sense that Charles is fighting a battle the public doesn't fully understand, a battle he may be losing. Imbal Honigman, a celebrity psychic who gave her reading to Yahoo Entertainment, pulled tarot cards for the royal family's 2026. For Camilla, she drew the Tower card, which she described as carrying an element of risk and indicating chaotic energy. The Tower card represents sudden upheaval, destruction of the old order, everything changing in an instant. Brazilian psychic Athos Salome, called the living Nostradamus by the press, told the Daily Mail that a major event within the royal family, possibly tied to the health of a key member, could happen between late 2025 and early 2026, late 2025 to early 2026. That aligns exactly with Craig Hamilton Parker's February warning. Same story, different psychics, different methods, different backgrounds, same time frame. Same themes, same warnings about what's coming for the royal family. Number 11, the timeline if he's right. If Craig Hamilton Parker is right, here's the timeline we're living through. February 2026. This month, King Charles passes away. The nation mourns. William immediately becomes King William V. The coronation planning begins. Catherine becomes queen consort. The Wales children become first, second, and third in line to the throne. 2026, William pursues parliamentary changes to strip Harry and Meghan of their titles. He deals with Prince Andrew in a much more robust way. According to the warning, this happens within the year. The house cleaning begins. No more delays. No more protection for those who have embarrassed the crown. 2027, the first full year of William's reign. Camilla is Queen Dowager, pushed to the margins, dependent on her stepson's decisions. Diana's son rules. Diana's rival is irrelevant. The woman who broke up Diana's marriage watches from the sidelines as Diana's son shapes the monarchy's future. Everything she waited 30 years for, gone in an instant. Craig Hamilton Parker also sees something darker. He warns of an assassination attempt on a member of the royal family. Though he says it will likely fail. The threat will be real, the danger will be present, but the monarchy will survive it. The monarchy faces its most turbulent period since the death of Diana herself. And we might be living through the first days of it right now. Number 12. Why this one feels different. Look, believe in psychics or don't, that's your call. But here's what's undeniable. Craig Hamilton Parker has been right before. Brexit, Trump, the Queen's death. His track record is documented and verified. It's a track record most psychics would envy. He himself acknowledges the limits. All psychic people are fallible up to a point. But consider the facts we know for certain. King Charles has cancer. That's confirmed by the palace. It's not speculation. It's fact. He's doing fewer public engagements. That's observable to anyone watching. The schedule has lightened, the appearances have decreased. Craig Hamilton Parker said the Queen would decline after the Platinum Jubilee. She did, exactly as he described. 3 months later, she was gone. He said Charles's reign would be short. He made that statement years ago, long before Charles was even king, long before anyone knew Charles would face cancer. Now he's given us a specific month. February 2026, this month. The month we're living through. Not someday, not eventually, now. The same man who correctly called the Queen's death is now warning about the King's, and we're in the exact time frame he specified. The days ahead will reveal whether Craig Hamilton Parker's track record continues, or whether this is the call that finally breaks it. Either way, we won't have to wait long to find out. Craig Hamilton Parker, the psychic who called the Queen's death, Brexit, and Trump, says Charles dies early 2026, specifically calling February a very dark date. If he's right, Diana's son takes the throne this year, and the woman who destroyed Diana's marriage becomes irrelevant overnight. But Craig Hamilton Parker isn't the only one seeing darkness ahead. Diana's personal astrologer has made her own terrifying warnings for the royal family. Click here to see what Diana's astrologer says, and why her words about the royals are even more chilling.